Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to be looking at the factors that will shift the DD schedule, and then in the next lecture, probably we're going to be looking at the factors that will shift the AA schedule. Now, we have learned more about fiscal policy. So, because if you look at what we did in the previous lecture, we were looking at what DD represent, and we have seen that actually DD curve represent the real sector. So I will just say DD represent the real sector. Now, if you say the DD schedule represent the real sector, now you already know that in the real sector you're talking about consumption plus investment plus government spending plus export minus imports. So anything that is going to shift the AD curve is going to shift AA curve. Why? Because now if there is an increase in consumption or increase in government spending or increase in investment or increase in government spending or increase in export or decrease in import, those will shift your DD curve to the right. So what we are going to do now is we're going to draw our schedule this way, and then we say this is our income, this is the origin, and then this is the exchange rate. So remember that the DD schedule must look like this, DD. So now if you look at DD schedule this way, and then we say, suppose now that, and I will just, for whatever reason, I will just pick the government spending, because we know that government spending represent our fiscal policy. So you must remember from your second year work that when we talk about the expansionary fiscal policy, and we are just talking about the increase in government spending or decrease in taxation. So the impact of this expansionary fiscal policy on the DD schedule now is a rightward shift of DD schedule. So now we see the new DD like this. So now you can see that there's a new DD curve in the system. And then this DD curve that you are looking at here, we are saying this is the result of the expansionary fiscal policy. So therefore now you must know exactly what we mean by fiscal policy and what we mean by expansionary fiscal policy. By now you already know that why would the government implement this kind of policy where now it increases the government spending or it decreases the taxation? Is because they want to encourage employment, they want to grow the economy and so on, reduce unemployment. So these are the kind of problems that the government is trying to solve with this kind of problem. Now, one, they want to grow the economy. Now, this is what we call economic growth. And then two, they want to reduce unemployment. And then three, they definitely want to solve the problem of deflation. Now you understand that. So when we have all this problem of low growth, the economy must grow. When we have high unemployment, unemployment must go down. When we have deflation, the prices must go up. So these are the kind of problem that the fiscal policy is trying to solve. But now we are going to see the impact of these policies now on the exchange rate, because that is the reason why we have this kind of analysis. Now, what we are looking at here is we are going to now look at the opposite of what we are looking at, of what we see here above. So the opposite of what we are looking at here is that we are saying that when government expenditure decreases, the government spending, or government increases taxation. So in this case now, remember, this two now is called the contractionary fiscal policy. So in this case now, what we are going to see is that we have our DD curve that looks like this. And then this DD curve now is going to shift to the left. And then this is what we are going to see. We are going to see DD shifting to the left. And then now the reason why government would implement this kind of a policy. Now, let's see, why would government implement this kind of a policy? The contractionary fiscal policy. Now, we are saying here that the government will implement that in the case where there is high inflation. Obviously, if there is a high inflation, the government must come and solve that problem by what? By the contractionary fiscal policy. So therefore now, you can see that contractionary fiscal policy obviously is a problem, because now when the production goes down, because the government is pushing the inflation down, now we will start seeing the problem of what? The problem of the unemployment going up as a result. So what I'm going to do here is, we want to see what is the impact on the, what we call the exchange rate. And the impact on the exchange rate is as follows. One, we have the first one here, and then we have the second one here. And what you can see here now is what I'm just going to show you first. I start with the increase in government expenditure, and then I will show you the decrease in government expenditure. So the first one shows the increase in government expenditure, the so-called the expansionary fiscal policy, and then the second one shows the decrease in government expenditure, the so-called the contractionary fiscal policy. Now, we have our DD schedule that is looking like this, and then we have our AA schedule that is looking like this. We have our DD schedule that is looking like this, and then we have the AA schedule that is looking like this. And I want to overemphasize this so that everyone is able to understand what I am doing here. And I am saying to you guys that what we are doing here is that the vertical axis represent exchange rate, and then the horizontal, the output, and then the output, and then the exchange rate. So this is the origin, this is the origin. Right. So now in this case, now you can see that in the economy, the exchange rate will be E1, and then the output will be Y1. The output will be Y1, and then the exchange rate will be E1. That is what we're going to have in the system. And then this equilibrium, I call it E1. I call it, what can I call it? Okay. Let me call it smaller e, so that don't confuse with the exchange rate. And then this is smaller e1. Right. So what is happening now is that what happens now, and this is what we want to see in your discussion, in your analysis, so that you show that you understand what you are doing. So if there is an increase in government spending, what we are seeing now, we are seeing that the DD is going to shift to the right. And when DD shifts to the right now, look what is happening. Because of the expansionary fiscal policy, what we are seeing now, we are seeing the appreciation of the rand. So therefore now, the rand will appreciate as a result of that, as a result of the first one. But now what we see as well, we are seeing the increase in output. The economy is growing, because now this is what my E2 is there. So now we know that now when the government is actually implementing the expansionary fiscal policy, we will end up with the stronger rand, and then the economy is going to grow. So what is happening here now is, but now what happens now if they implement the contractionary fiscal policy? So what we are seeing here now is that the leftward shift to DD1. Now we see the leftward shift of the DD curve. But what is happening here? What is happening here now is that we are going to end up with what? The rand will depreciate. Now you are looking at the depreciation of the rand, and then you are looking at the economy that is going down. So now you can see, now the rand here will depreciate. So now you can see that when the nominal exchange rate is going up, we say what is depreciation, which means the rand is becoming weaker. Right. I will definitely look into that in more details. So now we are saying that this is what is happening. The rand will be weaker, and then the economy will decline. But in the case of expansionary fiscal policy, it's the opposite. And then you understand that. So now the question is that let's look at the other factors. Obviously, there will be many factors. So that you will sit alone and try to sort of understand what is going on and how to do them. So the factors that will shift the DD curve, the first one we are saying that is the government spending, and then the second one is taxes, which is taxation. The third one is investments, and then the other one is price level in the economy. So when you are looking at the price level in the economy, and now you can see that obviously if goods and services are expensive, people are not going to buy from us. So therefore, they will buy from elsewhere. But if the prices are going down, people will buy more into that one you understand, because now it will affect the exports and the imports. So the net exports will be affected by this change in price level. And then the other factor will be domestic consumption. When domestic consumption increases, DD will shift to the right. When it decreases, shift to the left. And then you can do the analysis, because the main reason why we are giving you this kind of questions is because we want to see what is the impact of this on output and exchange rate. So you will see that everything, when I want you to draw these graphs, I want you to show me that in the end, what is the impact on the exchange rate and what is the impact on the output. As you can see that on the diagram, we have the exchange rate on this axis and then the output on this axis. And then, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is it for today. And the next lecture, I am going to be looking at the what you call the factors that will shift the AA schedule. So now we know about all factors that will shift the DD schedule, and you must not forget that when you talk about the DD schedule, we are talking about the graph that represent the real sector of the economy. So, but now it represents what the relationship between the exchange rate and the output. So if we ask you to define what the DD curve is, you can just say it is a graph that shows a positive relationship between the exchange rate and the output in the economy. Thank you very much.